What really happens? During a port state control inspection, every year, thousands of ships arrive at ports around the world carrying everything from food and fuel to cars and consumer goods. Most people see these vessels as giant steel boxes moving cargo across oceans, but for some ships, arrival at port means something else. It means an inspection. Imagine you're the master of a vessel. The ship has just berthed after a long voyage. Cargo operations are about to begin. Crew members are busy preparing equipment and completing paperwork. Then comes the message. Port State Control Inspector is coming on board. For some crews, it's routine. For others, it's the start of a very stressful day. But what actually happens during a Port State Control inspection? Let's step on board and find out. Before the inspector even sets foot on the vessel, the inspection has already begun. As the Port State Control Officer, or PSCO, approaches the ship, they're observing everything they can see from the shore or quay. The condition of the hull, the visibility of draft marks, the accommodation block, the funnel, mooring arrangements, even the condition of the gangway. These first impressions often reveal how well a vessel is maintained. Experienced inspectors often develop an initial impression of a vessel within minutes. While that impression alone never determines the outcome of an inspection, it may influence which areas attract closer attention later. Once at the gangway, the inspector's identification is checked by the watchkeeper. The purpose of the visit is confirmed, a brief safety and security induction is provided, and the master is informed of the inspector's arrival. The inspector is then escorted to the master's office or conference room. Soon, key management personnel on board, typically the master, chief officer, chief engineer, or other senior officers available at the time, gather for the opening meeting. This meeting is important. The master explains the vessel's current operational status, including any limitations, active conditions of class, or approved dispensations that may affect the inspection. The inspector then explains the scope of the inspection and how it will be conducted, aiming to minimize disruption to cargo operations and shipboard activities. Now the real inspection begins. The first stage is known as the initial inspection. The PSCO reviews statutory certificates, records, manuals, and documentation required under international conventions. These checks follow internationally coordinated inspection procedures used by maritime authorities around the world. But PSC is about much more than paperwork, so what inspectors are really looking for? Contrary to popular belief, port state control inspections are not simply about finding individual defects. Inspectors are often assessing something much broader, the overall safety culture on board. A missing safety sign may be a minor issue, but when multiple deficiencies point to poor maintenance, weak procedures, or inadequate crew familiarity, a larger pattern begins to emerge. The inspection may take the PSCO from the bridge to the engine room, from accommodation spaces to mooring stations, examining both the condition of the vessel and the crew's ability to operate it safely. If everything appears satisfactory, the inspection may end there. But sometimes something catches the inspector's attention. Perhaps the fire door kept open with unapproved holdback arrangements, or smoke sensor in engine room found covered by plastic bag. Or perhaps a crew member responsible for launching a lifeboat cannot explain the procedure. These are known as clear grounds. When clear grounds exist, the inspection moves to the next level, a more detailed inspection. At this stage, the inspector digs deeper. Firefighting equipment may be tested. Emergency drills may be witnessed. Crew competency may be assessed. Critical machinery may be examined more closely. The objective is to determine whether the ship, its equipment, and its crew substantially comply with the requirements of international conventions. As the inspection progresses, deficiencies may be identified. If no deficiencies are found, the vessel receives a clean inspection report, commonly referred to as Form A. For the crew, that's usually a welcome outcome. However, when deficiencies are identified, they are documented in Form B, along with the relevant convention references and any required corrective actions. In most cases, deficiencies can be rectified within an agreed time frame. But occasionally, inspectors uncover problems serious enough to threaten the safety of the ship, the crew, or the environment. Perhaps rescue boats failed to start or emergency generator failed auto-start simulation. When that happens, the consequences become much more serious. The port state control officer may decide to detain the vessel. A detention means the ship cannot sail until the identified deficiencies have been satisfactorily rectified and verified by the authorities. Cargo schedules are disrupted, charter commitments may be affected, and every additional day alongside can result in significant financial consequences. For crews, it can be stressful. And for the maritime industry, it serves as a powerful reminder that safety standards exist for a reason. At the end of the day, port state control is not about finding faults for the sake of finding faults. It's not a competition between inspectors and crews. Its purpose is straightforward: to ensure that ships trading internationally are operated safely, maintained properly, and managed in accordance with international regulations. Because every safe voyage starts long before a ship leaves the port. And sometimes it starts with a knock on the master's door.